व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। We will chant the first and second verses of Dhyana Shloka, which we studied in the last session of Bhagavad Gita. Om Parthaaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshiniim Bhagavatim Ashtadashaadhyayiniim Amba Tvamanu Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshiniim Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullaravindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajwalito Jnanamayah Pradipaha. So, we have studied these two Dhyana Shlokas. There is a set of 9 shlokas popularly known as Dhyana Shloka. They were composed by one Madhusudana Saraswati. Generally, they are studied and chanted before the study of Bhagavad Gita. Now, let's look into the third of the Dhyana Shlokas. Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gitamritaduhe Namaha. This is a salutation to Bhagavan Krishna. Krishna plays the role of Arjuna's Sarathi in the battle of Mahabharata. Therefore, Krishna is also known as Partha Sarathi, the charioteer of Partha, Arjuna. But then Arjuna wanted spiritual teaching from Bhagavan, who was his Sarathi. If you look into the beginning of chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna requests Bhagavan for the spiritual teaching. And Arjuna says, I am your Shishya. I am your student. Please teach me. Please give me spiritual knowledge. Arjuna requests Krishna. Then In spite of his role as the Sarathi, Bhagavan takes another role in the battlefield. And that role is the role of a teacher, role of a guru. Bhagavan becomes, Krishna becomes Arjuna's guru, and Arjuna becomes a Shishya. Then Krishna is called Gita Charyaha. Previously, he was Partha Sarathi, the charioteer of Arjuna. But when he takes on the role of a guru to teach Arjuna, he becomes Gita Charya, the Acharya who teaches Gita. But when he becomes Gita Charya, he still has the stick of a charioteer in his hand. A charioteer, a Sarathi, has to drive the horses, make the horses run. And to make the horses run, one should have a stick. Because it involves disciplining the horses. One should have a stick. And Bhagavan is carrying a stick in one of his hands. Carrying his stick, he becomes a guru. He starts teaching Bhagavad Gita. Sitting on the seat of a Sarathi. That is the picture of Krishna that we get in this verse. Krishna has stick on one of his hands. In one of his hands, he is holding a stick. Therefore, Madhusudana Saraswati describes him as Totra Vetraika Panaye. In one hand, he has Totra Vetra, the stick of a Sarathi. And then, when someone teaches, he will make use of many gestures. Teaching is speaking. Predominantly, it is verbal communication. But in addition to the verbal communication, there are some gestures also involved. With the hands, with the eye, with the various other facial expressions. Because that is what makes the teaching live. Therefore, Bhagavan Krishna, as a live teacher, teaching with all his enthusiasm, he is also showing some gestures, some hand expressions. And one of the expressions is Jnana Mudra. He holds like this. Jnana Mudra. Jnana Mudra is to touch your index finger with the thumb. Tip of the index finger touches the thumb tip of the thumb, and other three fingers are held straight. It is called Jnana Mudra. It is also called Chin Mudra. It has its own significance. Chin Mudra indicates the union of Jiva and Brahman. The thumb indicates Brahman, Paramatma, Angushthamatrah Purushaha, Brahman is indicated by the thumb. And then the three fingers, starting from the small finger, the little finger, and then there is a ring finger and mid finger. These three fingers indicate the three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. These three fingers, three gunas. And this finger, that is the index finger, it is called Tarjani in Sanskrit. Index finger is called Tarjani because it is used for scolding, for frightening. This gesture is a frightening gesture. Therefore, this finger is called Tarjani. When this finger, which indicates a Jivatma, when it is with the other three fingers, indicating three gunas, then there is samsara. Thumb is away, whereas this Jivatma is with three gunas, associated with the three gunas. This gesture indicates a samsara. Now the Jivatma is in trouble. Gesture. But then, when index finger is moved and made to touch the thumb, then it is away from the three gunas. This Atma, Jivatma, has moved away from the three gunas and it is in union with the Brahman, in association with the Brahman. This is a beautiful gesture. This gesture indicates a jnana. When there is jnana, the Jivatma moves away from the three gunas and identifies with the Brahman, is associated with the Brahman. Therefore, this gesture is a Jnana Mudra, the gesture which indicates a Jnana. It is also known as Chin Mudra, because in this mudra you are in identification with the Chit, in association with the Chit, Brahman. Therefore, while teaching Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is showing many gestures, including Chin Mudra. You are Brahman. So with one hand he is holding the stick of a charioteer, and with the other hand he is showing the gesture as an acharya, as a guru. He is involved in teaching. That kind of Krishna. Jnanamudraya Krishnaya. Thotra vetraika panaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya. And one more description of Bhagavan Krishna. Prapanna parijataya. One who takes refuge at the feet of Krishna, he blesses him with what he wants in life. There are bhaktas. Later on, Krishna himself will say that there are 4 types of bhaktas, 4 types of devotees. One kind of bhakta is artha bhakta, one who becomes a bhakta because of some suffering, some fear. He becomes a bhakta. He has a problem, then he turns to Ishvara. He is called Artha Bhakta. But even an Artha Bhakta, when he prays to Ishvara, Ishvara blesses him and he is saved from his difficulty. Bhagavan can save a person from difficulties. Including black magic. Someone was asking me a few days back if there are people who are making use of black magic to disturb somebody's life, what is the solution? Certain people cannot tolerate my success in my pursuit. They don't want me to be successful. They don't want me to be happy in my life. Therefore, they are using some kind of rituals, not for any gain of their own, but to obstruct my own success. They are doing some rituals. It is called black magic. What is the solution? Take refuge at the feet of Ishvara. It is the best solution. No black magic can work in front of Ishvara, because Ishvara is Deva Devaha. He is the Lord of all Devatas. Even the Devata which people worship through black magic is also under the command of Ishvara, under Bhagavan's command. Therefore, if you approach the boss, the ordinary assistants cannot do anything. Therefore, Artha Bhakta, when there is a suffering, a difficulty, people approach Ishvara, take refuge at Ishvara, and Ishvara blesses them by removing their difficulties, removing their problem. Therefore, Prapanna Parijataha, Ishvara is Parijata. Parijata is a very fragrant flower. As soon as you approach the tree of Parijata, it is pleasant. It's a pleasant experience even to go near the plant of a Parijata flower and to sit under a Parijata tree is a pleasant experience. Likewise, Bhagavan is very pleasant to the people who take refuge at his feet. Prapanna, those who take refuge at his feet, he is very pleasant like Parijata. He gives them what they want. He becomes very pleasant to them and makes their life pleasant. So, Artha Bhakta. Then there is another type of Bhakta, Jijnasu Bhakta. Artharthi Bhakta. Artharthi means one who wants material wealth. He wants to earn more money. He wants material happiness. He wants to enjoy this life. Therefore, he worships Ishvara for getting happiness in this life. And Ishvara blesses him also with what he wants. Without Ishvara's grace, one cannot be happy in this life also. We need to make effort to be happy in this life, to earn money, for doing business, for job. People make effort. It is very much needed. But to a great extent, success in this life, even in the material realm, the success depends on Ishvara. Whether one wants to get married, whether one wants to build a house, whether one wants to find a job, in spite of human effort, sometimes we don't find success. It is because of lack of Ishvara's grace. Therefore, even to be happy in this life, to be successful in the material life, one should seek Ishvara's grace. Do prayer, lead a prayerful life, and Bhagavan will take care of one's welfare. Bhagavan himself assures later on in Gita, Yogakshemam vahamyaham. If anybody is my devotee, my bhakta, I will take care of his welfare. Yogakshema. It is Bhagavan's own assurance. Artharthi bhakta. Then there is another form of bhakta, Jijnasu bhakta. He seeks spiritual knowledge. Atmajnana. Even to get Atmajnana, one should have Ishvara's grace. Take refuge at the feet of Ishvara. Then the fourth one is Jnani Bhakta. A Jnani Bhakta does not seek anything. He is a Bhakta who does not seek anything from Ishvara. Because he is the one who has found Ishvara in his own self. We will discuss various bhaktas in detail as we go through Bhagavad Gita. For all forms of bhakta, a bhakta is called prapannaha. Prapannaha means one who has surrendered himself to Ishvara. One who has taken refuge at the feet of Ishvara. Bhagavan is like Parijataha, the most fragrant flower, very pleasant, one who gives happiness. Then there is another description of Bhagavan Krishna. Gitamrita duhe namaha. Bhagavan is a milkman. Madhusudana Saraswati compares Bhagavan to a milkman, one who milks the cow. Krishna is also called Gopalaha because in his younger days he was taking care of cows and he is an expert even in milking the cows. And even in the process of teaching Bhagavad Gita, he is doing the job of a milkman. How is it so? Madhusudana Saraswati compares the Upanishads to cows, as we will see in the following shloka. And Bhagavad Gita is compared to milk. And this milk is not an ordinary milk. It is Amritam, Gitamritam. If someone drinks the Bhagavad Gita milk, he becomes immortal. He becomes free from samsara. An extraordinary milk. And Bhagavan is the milkman who has milked Bhagavad Gita and given it to the world, distributed it in the world to all the people, to the entire humanity. He has distributed the milk of Bhagavad Gita. Gītāmrita duhe namaha, namaskara. Salutation to such great Krishna who has given us this Amrita of Bhagavad Gita. Next verse. Sarvopanishado gavaha dogdha gopalanandanaha partho vatsasudhir bhokta dugdham gītāmritam mahat. So, to understand this shloka properly, we should know our primary scriptures, primary Shastra. Our scriptures are called Shastra. The scriptures that we find in India are called Shastra. The word Shastra has its own meaning. Shasanat trayate iti Shastram. It gives instruction and saves, protects. The primary Shastra are the Vedas. Veda is also called Shruti. Veda or Shruti have the same meaning. Vedas have two parts, Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. The major portion of the Vedas are Karma Kanda. The Karma Kanda deals with various forms of actions, as the very name suggests. There are various actions enjoined in Karma Kanda. And these actions are predominantly three types: Yajna, Dana, and Tapas. Yajna means rituals. Dana, giving contribution. And tapas. Tapas include various values and austerities. That is the topic of Karma Kanda. It enjoins various disciplines for one's spiritual unfoldment, for one's spiritual upliftment. Then there is another portion of the Vedas known as Jnana Kanda. Jnana Kanda occurs at the final portion of the Vedas. If you look at the body of literature, the text called Veda, the first portions are Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda covers almost 95 to 99% of the Vedas. Whereas at the end, there is a smaller portion known as Jnana Kanda. As the name suggests, Jnana Kanda deals with Atma Jnana, self-knowledge. It talks about the nature of the Atma, the nature of the absolute reality. Jnana Kanda consists of various texts called Upanishads. The very Jnana Kanda consists of Upanishad. Upanishads are sections of Veda. Upanishad is not an independent text. It is a section of Veda which is at the end of the Veda and which form Jnana Kanda. There are many Upanishads. Each Upanishad has its own name, like Ishavasyopanishad, Kathopanishad, Kenopanishad. All are in the Veda, in the Jnana Kanda portion of the Veda. Since the Jnana Kanda is at the end of the Veda, it is also known as Veda Anta. Anta means end. Jnana Kanda is at the end of the Vedas, at the final portion of the Vedas. Therefore, they are called Vedanta. Vedanta is the main body of literature to understand our true nature, which reveals our true self, our true identity. If we want to know our true self, we have to go through Upanishads. Then, to understand the Upanishads better, to convey the message of Upanishads more elaborately, Bhagavan has taught us Bhagavad Gita. When he teaches Bhagavad Gita, he is condensing the vision of the Upanishads. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all the Upanishads. Bhagavad Gita is not a part of the Vedas. It is a secondary text known as a Smriti. Veda is called Shruti. The secondary scriptures, which are based on the Vedas, they are known as Smriti. Smriti is always based on Shruti. Smriti does not give anything independent of Shruti. Bhagavad Gita being a Smriti, it is based on the Shruti, Upanishads. Therefore, the message of Bhagavad Gita is the message of the Upanishads. This idea is presented by comparing Upanishads to cows. All Upanishads are cows, like cows. Sarvopanishado gavaha. All Upanishads are like cows that yield milk. The milk of Brahma Vidya, the milk of spiritual wisdom. And Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat. The Upanishads cows, they yield milk, and the milk is Gitamritam. The Amritam called Bhagavad Gita is the milk, and it is Mahat. It is very great, great milk, not ordinary milk, very precious milk. We have A1 milk, A2 milk, organic milk. And this is a special milk. If one drinks Bhagavad Gita milk, one becomes immortal, free from samsara. Therefore, it is the most precious milk. Milked from Upanishad cows, special cows. And who is the milkman? The milkman who milks the cows is Dogdha Gopalanandanaha. Dogdha means one who milks. The milkman, he is Gopalanandanaha, the son of Gopala, son of the cowherd. He was brought up in Gokula, in the family of Nandagopa and Yashoda. Their main profession was to take care of the cows. Therefore, he is not new for the art of milking. Milking is not as easy as people think. One should have skill to milk the cows. If one doesn't have the skill of milking, the cow will not yield milk. So, even the milkman is not an ordinary person. The cows are extraordinary. The milkman is also extraordinary. And the milk is also extraordinary. Partho Vatsaha. Those who are experienced in milking, they know very well that the cow does not yield milk until the calf comes and starts sucking the nipples of the cow. The calf has to come. That is when the cow yields milk, releases milk. Until then, even if there is milk, the cow doesn't release the milk. Therefore, there is a need for a calf. Vatsaha. Vatsaha means a calf. Who is the calf? Parthaha. Arjuna. Arjuna is the Vatsa. Gita was released for the sake of Arjuna. Arjuna was a pretext. Though Bhagavan wanted to give the message of Gita to the whole universe, the pretext was Arjuna. Krishna is directly speaking to Arjuna. Had there been no Arjuna, Bhagavad Gita wouldn't have manifested. When the milkman starts milking, first he will release the calf. Then the cow releases the milk. Then the calf drinks a little milk, as much as it has to drink. Then the calf is separated from the cow. Then the milkman goes and starts milking. The remaining milk, that is what human beings drink. Likewise, Bhagavad Gita was first received by Arjuna. Then the same Bhagavad Gita, the same milk is drunk by many other wise men in the world. Sudhir Bhokta, who are the Bhoktas, the other enjoyers, other people who are enjoying Bhagavad Gita, the milk of Bhagavad Gita. They are Sudhiyaha, all the wise men in the world. If someone is wise, he will definitely come to Bhagavad Gita. Because this milk is very much nourishing. Spiritual nourishment. The best source of spiritual nourishment is Bhagavad Gita. Just as milk is considered very nutritious for our physical health, Bhagavad Gita is very much nourishing for our spiritual health and spiritual well-being. Next shloka. Vasudevasutam devam kamsachanuramardanam devaki paramanandam कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Again, salutation to Krishna. Gitacharya Vasudeva Sutam. He is the son of Vasudeva. Son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Vasudeva Sutam Devaki Paramanandam. Krishna's mother and father are mentioned. He is the son of Vasudeva and Devaki Paramanandam. He is the one who gives great pleasure to Devaki, his mother. Kamsa Chanura Mardanam. He destroyed many Rakshasas for the sake of protecting Dharma on this earth surface. And two of them are named. Among the many Rakshasas that he killed, two are mentioned here. Kamsa and Chanura. Kamsa Chanura Mardanam. Devaki Paramanandam. Krishnam Jagadgurum Vande. He is a Jagadguru, the teacher of the whole universe. By teaching Bhagavad Gita, Krishna became Jagadguru. Because Gita is a universal message, universal teaching, universal wisdom. It is not meant for any particular group of people, not for Indians, not just for Indians, but for the whole universe. So, by giving Bhagavad Gita to the world, Bhagavan is Jagadguru, the teacher of the whole universe. Therefore, he deserves namaskara. He deserves a salutation. Therefore, Madhusudana Saraswati says, I do namaskara to Krishna, who is Jagadguru. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.